Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to dedicate my remarks this evening to Howard Willems, a federal public servant who died from being unknowingly exposed to asbestos in his workplace. Before his death, Howard was a tireless advocate for a ban on asbestos. Because of his work and that of his stepson, Todd, Saskatchewan was the first province to have a public registry of buildings containing asbestos. In Howard's own words, people have to say, enough is enough, we need to know. Madam Speaker, in June I asked the government if they would be implementing a comprehensive strategy for asbestos removal to protect all Canadians and all workers. At the time, the answer was that the strategy was under construction. 4 months later, we still have nothing even resembling a comprehensive asbestos removal and remediation strategy. Instead, what we have are regulations with notable exemptions. As Kathleen Ruff, a prominent Canadian human rights activist and board member of Rideau Institute, said, "I would give them credit for finally moving to ban asbestos, but I'm troubled by these weaknesses and gaps, and, if anything, they seem to have gotten worse. They seem to have weakened their proposed regulations." If the health and safety of Canadians is the reason for a ban on asbestos, why allow exemptions? Exemptions that include magnesium extraction companies will be permitted to work in nearly 800 million tons of asbestos residue remaining near the mines in Quebec. The use of road infrastructure containing asbestos also will be exempt from the ban, and with no exemption date in mind. The ban also does not apply to structures or products that already contain asbestos, another reason many think the ban was not strong enough. Madam Speaker, asbestos in Canada still will be found in a wide variety of products, including building insulation, ceiling, floor tiles, automobile brake pads, cement, and plaster products. Madam Speaker, Canadians were expecting a complete and comprehensive ban. When is a ban not a ban? When we get so many exemptions that workers will continue to be exposed to deadly asbestos. It seems that despite the lofty goals the government likes to talk about, their actions reflect instead the desires of powerful and well-financed lobby groups. The federal government is even financing companies who are hoping to continue to make profits using asbestos. The asbestos lobby is rejoicing that the Canadian and Quebec governments are financing a project to extract magnesium from the millions of tons of asbestos mining waste near the town of Asbestos, Quebec. And the Canadian government has given the company $12 million for this project. It appears that no independent environmental assessment has been carried out, public health experts have been excluded, and a deaf ear turned to their concerns by both the Quebec and the federal government. The International Chrysotile Association and pro-Chrysotile movement deny the science on asbestos and oppose banning asbestos, claiming it is virtually harmless. If the government is all about evidence-based decision-making and truly believes that any exposure to asbestos is harmful, which is the evidence, then why have they allowed these exemptions, which will continue to put Canadians' lives at risk? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Science and Sport, and to the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Services and Procurement.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I am happy to respond to comments made by the Honourable Member for Saskatoon West regarding asbestos. Protecting the health and safety of all Canadians is one of our government's foremost responsibilities, and one that we are committed to upholding. The Government of Canada takes great precautions to manage and control the risks associated with asbestos in accordance with federal policy and legislative requirements from applicable acts and regulations for health and safety. Madam Speaker, our government has already taken proactive and concrete action to address this issue and to reduce the risk of exposure to asbestos. In 2016, my colleague, the Minister of Public Services and Procurement, announced that the use of asbestos in new government construction and major renovation projects under their purview would be prohibited, and published an initial publicly available inventory of government-owned and leased buildings that contain asbestos. Furthermore, in December 2016, my colleagues and I announced a number of measures as part of a whole-of-government approach to ban asbestos and asbestos-containing products in Canada by 2018. I am pleased to report that we have followed through on our promise to deliver on all commitments announced in the strategy. For example, in June 2017, new federal workplace health and safety rules came into force that drastically limit the risk of people coming into contact with asbestos on the job. The Government of Canada's position regarding the listing of asbestos as a hazardous material under the Rotterdam Convention was updated based on Canada's domestic ban. The National Research Council and their partners have been reviewing all instances of asbestos under the National Model Building Codes. Health Canada is working to raise awareness of the health impacts of asbestos through social media and other communications products. And, Madam Speaker, on October 17, 2018, Environment and Climate Change Canada, in collaboration with Health Canada, published regulations to prohibit the import, sale, and use of asbestos, as well as the manufacture, import, sale, and use of products containing asbestos with a limited number of exclusions. The new regulations and related amendments will take effect on December 30th, 2018. In closing, Madam Speaker, I thank the member opposite for her questions and for sharing the government's interest and concern with protecting the health and safety of Canadians.
The honourable member for Saskatoon West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the Parliamentary Secretary for her comments. I'd like to remind her that the Quebec's Commission on Occupational Standards, Equity, Health and Safety, as well as all of Quebec's health authorities, has called for zero tolerance for exposure to asbestos because it is so deadly and because that is the scientific evidence. In closing, I'd like to echo Kathleen Ruff again. The Canadian government has endorsed a double standard within Canada itself and is supporting a project that allows workers to be exposed to asbestos at levels 10 times higher than are permitted anywhere in Canada. Why is the Liberal government denying clear scientific evidence? The answer to me is clear. It's because they have allowed public policy to be captured by the asbestos industry, and that is shameful. Where is the comprehensive removal and remediation plan, or is the government still waiting for the asbestos lobby to write it? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, the Government of Canada's activities in working to reduce Canadians' risk of exposure to asbestos is another example of our government demonstrating its leadership and vision. We have taken a proactive and a comprehensive approach, one that is founded in science and based on evidence. We have taken action by developing regulations to ban the manufacture, use, import and export of asbestos and products containing asbestos under the Canadian Environmental Protection Act. Evidence-based policymaking is important to this government and to Canadians. Examining the evidence and ensuring that operational and policy decisions are informed by the best possible scientific data are cornerstones of our government. Our actions on asbestos are comprehensive, coordinated, and well-researched, and will protect the health and safety of all Canadians. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
L'honorable député de